my vacation, and today we will continue talking about the AffinidiSDK. So last time in my previous videos we covered with you the core of our SDK, so you could do a lot of operations with VCs, VPs, manage your identities, manage your DIDs, but quite often we had the situation that you could have a lot of VCs. The size of these VCs could be quite huge one, and maybe they not fit well to the edge device. Or for example, another case that maybe you want to have the backup strategy. Yeah, so you want to keep the VCs in a place where you could use them between multiple devices. Yeah, or have just a backup strategy not to lose all the data that you actually get. So nobody force you to use the VC storage, but if you will decide to use one, we have an offering that actually included in our SDK. So we have the REST interface, and it's quite interesting, but it's quite simple. So first of all, you need to understand that we have the special DID authentication method. So it's quite interesting case. We will talk in our another videos about how it's work, but the trick is that you use your public identity, you use your DID to authorize yourself, and in this case you will have the access only to credentials that actually you own. So, and the interface is quite simple, but it's quite powerful that you could search the credentials on different criteria. You could get the credential by credential ID. You could store it, you could delete. That's actually it. But it's not the end of the story, because we do not want to keep our credential in an open format and in an open text. So let's dig to this problem. So I will leave in link to our API, so you could check it if you want. And setup is quite simple. As usual, we set up the wallet, we set up our access key that now we could manage it from the Affinity console. We launch one central place that allows you to manage all your identities and projects now, so it's much easier. Take a look to the console affinity.com. I already set up the project. I don't want to show my keys to the public internet recording. So what we will do? We will do the simple thing. We will set up the issuer and holder, but this holder will be a bit smarter guy that will decide to keep the credential in future. So we, as usually, create the we see that we share some for the YouTube videos. It's my video about the verifiable credential. It's nothing new. But what will happen next? For example, we want to store now this credential in our wallet as a backup or permanently. So it's super cool. It's super easy. You could just call the save credential and specify the array of credentials, and that's it. But what's quite interesting, what we get back? We get back a special encrypted blobs that actually have some metadata data. So it's the credential ID, but this credential ID is encrypted by your private key. It's a credential type. So if you take a look to the credential itself, you will see that we have the verifiable credential and content like, and here we have the types that actually encrypted with your private key. That allow us to quickly search on this metadata like types and IDs and to quickly give you the result. And as you see that for us, your credential is just a huge encrypted blob with the keys, and that's it. So we could not do anything without your private key. Even if somebody will steal our database or do some harm and whatever, it will not actually expose your data to the public internet, because without your SDK instance seed and private keys, it's absolutely useless. But still, as you see, it's a super simple line that actually you specify the array of credentials that not encrypted, and we do all the magic to prepare the encryption to store encrypted credential, and we keep simple interface that you could still get credential by ID. That takes care that actually this ID is super important, because you could not have the credential with same ID in your vault. It's you will get the error if you will try to store another credential with the same ID. So this ID should be the unique identifier. And if you take a look to the result on the SDK side, you have unencrypted, just the regular VC that have all these fields. So for you, it's completely transparent. You could store the VCs, you could get VCs by ID, you could get all your VCs, or you could even delete them if you don't need them anymore. So it's quite powerful. So I suggest you to play a bit with service. It's a bit hard to use it without the SDK, but it's the main reason why we still have the SDK. It's just to hide the complexity. So all this complexity is covered by this get credential ID method and save credential. So you could use it as a secured, encrypted, fully controlled by user backup, and it's compliant with all the SSI principles. So that's it that I was keen to describe to you today. And if you have any questions about our SDK, if you have any questions about the SSI, just feel free to contact me, and we will be happy to answer all your questions. On my next video, I will focus on the custodial wallet and some more features to allow us to create a more powerful backup and user management. And then we will talk a bit more about what actually the cloud wallet is, and what agents and hubs means in SSI, and how we build actually a full-scale SSI hub for you. So you don't need to build everything from scratch. You could just use our infrastructure as a service in the future if you really decide to move from edge to cloud. So thank you for your time.